Everybody, welcome to a halftime edition of Tunnel Vision. I'm your host, Ryan Abraham, publisher of USCFootball.com, and the Trojans are trailing the Oregon Ducks 21-14. If you want to go onto the chat room, I got it pulled up. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. We'll kind of go over what's going on here. Obviously, 2 early interceptions by Kedon Slovis was a real problem, and led to 14 Oregon points. Ducks had a couple of 14-point leads, but USC was able to bounce back. Encouraging news for USC. Obviously, the comebacks have worked, but USC had to take 2 80-yard fields basically for their touchdowns, and Oregon had a lot of favorable field position. For USC, kind of were in a lot of bad spots, starting inside their own 10-yard line, I believe, 3 times. Partial punt block. But that Kanai Mauga interception there at the end of the half was pretty big. Yeah, USC doesn't score on it. They missed a field goal, 41-yard field goal. But as far as everything else goes, they could have been more Oregon points there. So he stopped Oregon points. Remember last year, Oregon had that kickoff return for a touchdown at the end of the half. That was a big deal. But USC, I guess you could argue USC has them right where they want them, right? They've been in this spot before. Let me check sorry about that. Yeah, so in the press box here at the Coliseum, just got the screen out there. You can kind of see what's going on the field if you want to. Really nothing else going on. Usually there'd be a band and stuff playing. Obviously that isn't happening right now. Let me see. Starting field position is the issue for Super OC Holmes. Yeah, certainly been a big issue. USC wasn't really able to flip the field. And, those couple of turnovers really hurt the Trojans. Looking at the stats real quick, let me pull up what we got here. So, Slovis, 15 of 26, 1 touchdown, 178 yards, 2 picks. Not a very efficient day for him, under 60% passing. Shuck's not much better, 7 of 12. He has a pick too. He's 6 of 11, but they had their backup quarterback come in and throw a touchdown, or for the Wildcat kind of thing. But Shuck's got a couple of touchdowns. But again, 55% passing, not great. I think Oregon's run the ball a lot better than USC. It's basically been, we saw Stephen Carr, we've seen Marquis Step. Step not really getting much going. Carr averaging a little under 4 yards a carry. For dollars for Oregon, they would run the ball well. 67 total yards there, but that there's 8 yards of it. It's really they've about 75 yards rushing for Oregon if you can take out the sacks and stuff like that. Penalties were a big deal. 5 penalties for 48 yards for USC. Couldn't really get much going on third down. 3 of 9 on third down. Overall. You look at the passing yards and total yards. It's not great for USC right now, but they're only down by 1 touchdown, so you're kind of lucky there. If you get, I'll look for some questions if you have any here. So I can't even read this name. It's an interesting long name, but the offensive line is getting manhandled by the Oregon defensive line. Yeah, so Oregon really did have a hard time stopping the run in other games. And you saw Jamar Jefferson run for, I think, 7,000 yards against Oregon. I mean, he had a huge game against the Ducks. And USC struggled to run the ball on this one. They just seemed to be handing the ball off just sideways at the running back's in a standstill position and doesn't have any momentum, and they're just getting hit. That 4th and 1 where Step just got crushed in the backfield. There's not much you're going to do there. But yeah, it doesn't look great. Kayvon Thibodeau is putting a ton of pressure on Keaton Slovis. How many times has he been sacked? I think he's been sacked twice. So, but Thibodeau's got a lot of pressure on him. Let me see what else we got here. Okay. Is Helton, question Super Yossi Holmes, is Helton in charge of penalties this year? Yeah, that was a statement he had made before, and they've had some games where it's not been too bad, but this one there's a lot of penalties going on. Trojan, Oregon looks vulnerable. Certainly Oregon looks vulnerable. I mean, Oregon's got a lot of breaks in this game, and it's not like Tyler Shuck is slinging around the yard. So there's definitely some issues, for the Ducks, and having that kind of field position and only being up 7. I think you have to say for USC, you're in a pretty good spot. And Trojan Jordan also says Stephen Carr does good pass protection. Yeah, he's in there a lot of times to pass protect. He does a good job with that. John says USC's offensive line needs to hang in there. The inside running game is not working. It's a good point. I mean, it's just not. There's just not much going on there. You'd like to see some maybe swing passes or something, get those guys out in space. That's something that's actually worked really well for Oregon. They've been able to get the ball out, sideways to the backfield and stuff, and these little screen passes, and they've worked pretty well. Let's see, Richard. Any chance Matt Fink comes in if Slovis keeps getting picked? Those picks were early, and there's a 0% chance that a healthy Keaton Slovis will be benched for Matt Fink. I mean, I don't know how many picks he would have to throw, but Graham Harrell is a big fan of Keaton Slovis. You're not going to see Fink come in there unless it's an injury, in my opinion. Keith says, isn't Oregon the worst rush defense in the Pac-12? I don't know if it's the worst, but it's up there. It's definitely been the weakness of this team, and the Ducks definitely have some talent. You saw Sewell out there. Obviously, Thibodeau's got bigger. He looks like he's doing a good job stopping the run. But as a team, they just haven't done it well. I thought they're playing better as a team. They're swarming to the football, and they were really overwhelming the offensive line at times. So yeah, they're playing better against the run this game than they showed in the other games. Question: do you think all of the wide receivers are not open? From SNS. Yeah, I mean, they're not like always open on every play, but you look for a guy like Drake London. He caught a couple of big third down catches there. I mean, you just kind of go to him. I think it was a fourth down one. He ended up catching too. He's been open a little bit, but they, early on they weren't really getting into the wide receivers all that much. I think the leading receiver for a while was Eric Krummenhoek for a good part of the game. He had like 2 catches. He was a leading receiver. Coley says both USC and Oregon have been quiet on kick returns. Any thoughts why? Yeah, we saw it. I mean, both these teams have had the chance to have explosive kick returns, and there's been a lot of penalties on special teams. USC had 10 men on a punt and didn't, so I had to call timeout on like a 4th and 23 or something like that. Bunch of penalties, bunch of mistakes. Guys that like to run and kick off and get the returns in. Sometimes there's a penalty. Not a lot of plays are getting out to past the 25. I think Gary Bryant Jr. was tackled by like the 3rd string quarterback for Oregon. He was out there. He sparked some weird stuff on special teams, but they haven't been those kind of big plays. And then obviously USC misses the field goal to end the half. How much does number 3 on Oregon's defensive line? I don't know. That's not a question. How much does number 3? I'm not sure what you're talking about. You might be talking about number 5, and it's Kayvon Thibodeau, and I don't know how much you're asking, but he's really good. He's a former 5-star player that USC was recruiting for quite a while. Really has put a lot of pressure on USC. So John says Drake London is a freaking beast. It's hard to argue with you there for sure. He definitely is. Marcus, this comes up a lot. Is it hard to figure out an under center package? We're not giving our running backs a chance. It's too late now, but why haven't we figured this out in the last 2 years? That's just, if you talk to Graham Harrell, that's just not what they do. But seeing how they're running the football, I mean, I think Oregon does some similar stuff, but it's just been so ineffective. And this is not a team that's great at stopping the run. So you got to figure something out. I'm not saying you have to go under center, but you got to figure out something that you can do in your system to make the run game work. And so far, it's not. Tommy Trojan, halftime adjustments. you're going to have to do it. USC's been great in the fourth quarter, so I think if USC wins it, that's where it's going to be. But you have to look at the whole situation, like who outplayed who looked better prepared, who was better coached. I think Oregon wins all those, but it's only a 7-point game. So these are those things. USC's just kind of hung around in games where they don't look like they should have been, and they give themselves an opportunity. And you got to come back. You got to get a stop here. Oregon gets the ball to start the second half, and maybe try to limit the possession in the second half, get it, tie the game up, and get a couple of stops. So I think USC's in a pretty good position to do it. We'll see. Let's see. Short, what adjustments do we need? Oh, let's go. Where is the championship quarterback for SC? Is he playing for Georgia? So I think Andrew's talking about JT Daniels. Keaton Slovis has been a really good quarterback for USC. JT Daniels has been a really good quarterback for Georgia, so I think both teams looking pretty good right now. So Joe says the biggest difference in the run game is the scheme. Sorry, I just scrolled up there. He said, when we had Sed and Rojo, there were lead blockers, trap runs, power leads. Now it's sweep left, right, and a dive from the gun. Yeah, there's been a lot of like those dives from the shotgun, with just the running back is just starting from a standstill, and they'll kind of fake it sometimes. So they'll fake the Slovis, will fake the just handing it off to the side and then throwing a pass. But the running backs don't seem super comfortable in that. I think Vavai was better out of that, but these other guys, I don't know, they just haven't been looking as comfortable. So Curtis from Merino Valley. Curtis says, run up the middle versus soft zone. Yeah, well, I mean, you've seen him try to run up the middle, Curtis, and it's not worked. I mean, at 3rd and 2, and they get a yard, and 4th and 1, and they lose it 2 yards. It's just, that's kind of been USC's MO a lot of times. And SNS production, it's not a soft zone most of the time. Hard up the middle when you're facing 7 guys. Yeah, and you got some talented guys on the edge that are beating your guys, like Cato Thibodeau. Coley, have you noticed the better sideline energy on Oregon or USC side? It's actually been really, good question, Coley. It's been really chippy on both sides, and it depends on. Early on, it was definitely Oregon's advantage as far as like sideline energy, but USC picked it up certainly after that second touchdown, Marquise Steps touchdown. The teams don't like each other for sure. There's a lot of trash talk. You can hear a lot of screaming. I've heard Clay Helton from here. He's 100 yards away from where I am in the press box, and you heard him talk about 60 minutes and all this stuff. So I mean, there's a lot of energy on the sidelines from both sides. So I think USC was sort of down early on, but then picked it back up. But make no mistake, these teams do not like each other at all. Let's see. Brandon Jones, our line is weakest in the middle. Yeah, I mean, if you watch Elijah Vera Tucker, when Thibodeau would go on his side, I think he did a pretty good job holding him. Thibodeau on the McKenzie side, that was a little rougher. So, Keith, Ryan jinxed the special teams. Yeah, no, USC special teams has been good. Today there was a bunch of mistakes. Not as good today. I mean, the 10 men on the field, and you have to call a timeout, and it didn't matter. Like, I don't think the timeout really came into play. But, yeah, you don't want to waste the timeout on 4th and 23 and have 10 men on the field. Shotgun pointed that out right away, put out a picture of it and stuff. So, yeah. Dakers, will you be back at game's end? No, I don't think we're going to do a post-game Zoom. It gets a little crazy then. We're trying to create content and stuff. But we did a pre-game one, if you want to see some of the warm-ups and stuff, and then the post-game. So, yeah. I mean, I'm sorry, not post-game, the halftime. So these have been fun. I think hopefully you guys have liked these. Looks like we're got a couple minutes left, and then we'll go back here. But yeah, I'm glad you guys can all come on here and put in your questions and talk about what's going on. These are definitely fun to do from halftime. I'll do a couple more and we'll get out of here. A lot of criticism of the USC coaching staff, hard to say. Yeah, it's hard to disagree. HR picking stuff. Oregon's defensive line is dominating. The secondary is playing hard. Yeah, I thought Oregon's strength is definitely been the secondary. You saw Deommodore Lenoir, a couple interceptions out there for the secondary, and then USC gets that interception back. But that's a big deal. I think Oregon's not done a good job winning the turnover battle. So the fact that USC was turning the ball over early, if USC can get a couple more in the second half, then I think USC could win this one handily, but you can't be losing the turnover battle like that with Oregon. Okay, let's see. Carr might need to be in more for pass protection, Keith. Yeah, that's a good point. He's been really good with that. He's just having run the ball very effectively. Trojan, do you think Stepp will activate beast mode in the second half? But I haven't seen a lot of beast mode yet from Stepp, but Carr's looked like a little bit of the better back. He's got better in the second quarter. We'll see. Plus, he's better at pass protection, so I think you might see a lot more Stephen Carr in the second half. All right. Well, I think I'm going to wrap it up here. You guys enjoy the second half of the game, and make sure you check out USCFootball.com for tons of content going up and analysis and all of that for the Pac-12 championship game. You get to enjoy the rest of your weekend. All the championship games. There's other Pac-12 games, and of course there's NFL games on. A lot of football tomorrow. It's a huge Saturday for football. But hope you guys are enjoying this one, and thanks for tuning in.